Another country facing a pivotal moment is Argentina. President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner began the year with high hopes, but ended it with a disappointing October election. It erased any chance to amend the Constitution so she could run for another term. But as our correspondent Joel Richards told us, Kirchner's problems really began when she sparked a fiery battle over judicial reform by trying to rush changes through Congress, further dividing the nation.
Still the #1 force in Argentine politics, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner's government is at a crossroads. High inflation, currency exchange restrictions and allegations of corruption have all led to a series of mass demonstrations against the government. This mood was reflected by a poor performance in the recent primaries. Those in opposition consider this recent blow to the government points to a loss of power at the Casa Rosada. A controversial recent attempt to reform the judiciary also failed. Justice is slow in Argentina, impunity is deeply ingrained, and there's little faith or trust in the system. Last December, politicians voiced outrage and protesters clashed with police. A court had acquitted 13 people charged with running a sex slavery ring on a case that made national headlines. And corruption is largely to blame. A recent poll shows that 72% of Argentines think that corruption went up, while only 9% think the opposite. The need for a comprehensive reform of the judiciary has long been proposed by civil rights groups. Few disagree with the need for an overhaul of the system, as Sebastián Pilo from the NGO ASIG explains.
The Argentine justice system has serious problems. It's bureaucratic, inefficient, not transparent, and with little access to low-income sectors of society.
Despite the need for change, this year's attempt by the Cristina Fernández de Kirchner government to reform the judiciary was highly contentious. Protests formed outside Congress as senators and deputies voted on the bill presented by the government. While those in favour claimed the reform would create a more representative judiciary, there were those in opposition who went as far as to compare the reform to the 1976 coup d'etat, saying that it was anti-democratic. One key reform would have politicised the Magistrates' Council. Members would be nominated by political parties and voted for in elections. It's this council that oversees the judiciary. Another controversial article would limit injunctions filed against the state. This was widely viewed as a response to the government's standoff with Clarín, in which the Supreme Court accepted the multimedia group's injunction that continues to prevent a new media law taking effect. The government and many groups in favour of the reform stressed the importance of the popular vote in creating a more representative justice system. But the Supreme Court voted 6-1 against the bill, a ruling that many Argentines were in favour of. While the reform has been stalled, the debate nonetheless has not ended. The judge, Maria Laura Garrigós, says the judiciary and politics are necessarily united.
The judiciary cannot ignore party politics, which create our daily reality. Should we have a free dollar or not? Can we export or import? This is what is then taken to courts for judges to decide. This cannot be ignored.
This reform is over, but the government has repeated its desire to deliver a judiciary that represents the popular vote.